Well, good morning to you. It's a Saturday, and I hope most of you are taking the day off. I think I'm going to take a day off. I've worked hard this week. Worked so hard. You can't imagine what it's like sitting in a car for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's a strain. It's a strain on your mental capacity. It's a strain on your legs and other parts of your anatomy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in my easy chair later on today and probably binge on some Netflix things, documentaries. I'm into documentaries a lot, And I love those shows that are about engineering disasters because I was a carpenter and I got into a few engineering disasters myself that maybe someday I'll tell you about, even though they aren't Maine stories, they're Massachusetts stories, and things that I got in trouble down there in Massachusetts. Some rather daft things that I did when I was a carpenter. But anyway, this morning I want to tell you about Twinkies. And I'm not going to tell you about my sister Twinkie. She was nicknamed Twinkie when she was a child. My nickname was Buster, and her name was Twinkie. And that was the shortened version of what my father used to call her. She was a cute little thing, and he called her Twinkle Toes. And so that morphed into Twinkie. And now she's she's a character, She went with it, and she has a sewing business, and she sews up all kinds of things. She makes aprons, She started out with that. And now she makes full dresses, and I do think she makes wedding dresses and things like that. She's really quite a good seamstress, and her business is called In Stitches with Twinkie. I think that's just a wonderful idea of a name for a sewing company because she is a laugh factory. She just loves to laugh, and she knows how to do it really. She's a professional laugher, so she's really good at it. But the title of the article that I found from the United Press International, I'm so impressed that the United Press International is interested in anything that's going on up here in Maine. That they decided to do an article about us. I think that's just wonderful. So I was going to give you a little background about Twinkies in general, and I looked it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not an authoritative source of information. It's easy place to start looking up things. I don't know if you know this, but wiki is a Hawaiian word that means quick. It's a quick encyclopedia. And the way it works is that the more people that contribute to or edit an article, then the more accurate it becomes. That's the whole idea behind Wikipedia. If you come across an article and it's only got one or two people that have edited it, you got to be kind of suspicious of that, unless it's, got the person who wrote it's got a lot of letters behind the name, like BS, MS, and PhD, And by the way, you know what those letters mean is BS, everybody knows what that means. And MS, of course, that means just more the same. And PhD, that just means piled high and deeper, But the idea of numerous people editing an article is a valid idea. Because you see, somebody did an experiment on this concept. They did an experiment with a jelly bean jar. Probably had over a few thousand, like a 1 gallon jelly bean jar, and they asked a whole bunch of people, maybe several hundred people, to guess how many jelly beans are in the jar. Some people were way off on the low side, and some people way off on the high side. But they took the average of how many jelly beans the people had picked, and the average of all the guesses was actually closer than any individual guess. Now, isn't that quite a phenomenon? The average of all the guesses was actually closer to the actual value of how many jelly beans were in the jar than any individual guess. And that's how Wikipedia works. When there are a lot of people, trying to edit an article in Wikipedia, the average information is going to be more accurate. And so when you look up an article on Wikipedia, check how many authors there are, and you'll you'll be able to know that you've got a pretty good article. I'm just, my my first cousin once removed, David Airy Jr., the son of my first cousin, David Airy Sr., he says I'm the world's largest supplier of useless bits of information, and you just got one, because maybe it is useful. But anyway, the name of the article is Twinkie on Display at Maine School for 43 years. Can you imagine that? But I'm going to give you a little background information about Twinkies in general, and it's from Wikipedia. A Twinkie is an American snack cake described as, quote, golden sponge cake with creamy filling. It was formerly made and distributed by Hostess Brands. The brand is considered owned by Hostess Brands Incorporated. It's on the NASDAQ as you might suspect, TWNK, Twink. I think that's cute. Having been formerly owned by private equity firm Apollo Global Management Company and C. Dean Metropolis and Company, as the second incarnation of Hostess Brands. During bankruptcy proceedings, Twinkie production was suspended on November 21st, 2012. Do you remember this? The world just cried about the fact that there were no more Twinkies. It was just awful. It was just a sad day. And Twinkie production was suspended on August 21st, as I said, and resumed after an absence of at least 10 months. And those were sad 10 months, I'll tell you. There were no more Twinkies on the shelves. People just didn't know what to do without their Twinkies. And American store shelves becoming available again nationwide, hooray, on July 15th, 2013. American ingenuity resoundingly, it's going to be that way again with, the paper products are going to come back on the shelves any day now. You can trust it. There will be toilet paper. There will be, rolls and rolls of paper towels and napkins. Once again, you can rest assured it's going to happen. So don't worry. Saputo Incorporated and Vashon Incorporated, which owns the Canadian rights to the product and made them during their absence from the U.S. market, produces Twinkies in Canada at a market in Montreal. Those Canadians steal all our stuff. And produces Twinkies in Canada at a bakery in Montreal. Twinkies are also available in Mexico stores known as submarinos. Ain't that cute? Because they look like a submarine. And Twinkies are made in Marinella and known as Tuink. If you want to guess at how that's pronounced. Twinkie. Yep. Made by Wonder, of Wonder Bread. Marinella and Wonder are subsidiaries of a Mexican bread company called Grupo Bimbo. And in Egypt, Twinkies are produced under the company Adita. Okay, I got to change pages now. Twinkies are also available in the United Kingdom and Ireland under the Hostess brand name, where they are sold as Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, and B&M stores. Twinkies are produced and distributed by multiple commercial bakeries in China. Those Chinese, they steal everything from us. Where Hostess does not own the brand. So it's just, they're fake Twinkies as far as I wouldn't eat a Chinese Twinkie. I'd be afraid what the filling was made of. I wouldn't eat a Chinese Twinkie. So now, going on to the Real Maine News. This video is entitled Real Maine News, And I said it's from the UPI, the United Press International, and I'm so impressed that the United Press International actually made a video, or not a video, but a story. They thought so much of us and so much of this story that they came up and they made a story about it. And I just got to tell you, it makes me proud, so proud to be a Mainer. It really does. And here's a story by Ben Hooper of United Press International. It was done in November 8th. Here it is, quote, "A Maine school is celebrating the 43rd anniversary of a Twinkie that has been on display at the school since being unwrapped by a science teacher." Now, this is a Twinkie that was unwrapped and set on display, to see how long it would last. Now, they've got this preservatives in Twinkies that it just seems like Twinkies never die. I remember my son had a high school teacher that just went on and on and on about this. He just was so funny. I remember my son coming home every few days. He said this. My teacher told me that if you eat enough Twinkies, if you shut the lights off, you're going to glow in the dark. You know, you get his whole class laughing. He says, if you eat enough Twinkies, when you die, they're not going to be able to cremate you because they can't set you on fire. You've got too many of them Twinkies in your system. Just one thing after another. I can't remember all the things he said, but he get his class laughing. And if you get somebody laughing, you're a good teacher because you can usually teach people when they're laughing. They're in a good mood and they'll listen to you. You know, so my son had a good teacher. George Stevens Academy in Blue Hill said that the original Twinkie that we're talking about that was unwrapped 43 years ago, it was originally unwrapped by teacher Roger Benatti in 1976. That's the year my son was born. So I'm sorry, son, I gave away your age. You're 43. Sorry to tell you, son, you're middle-aged. It's too late to die young. Gotcha. It was part of a lesson on food preservatives, and it's marking its 43rd year in the school. The school said the Twinkie is still in the same size and shape as a fresh snack cake. Can you believe this? But its color has faded to gray, and its texture has turned rough. Well, kind of expect that. The Twinkie was on display in Bennett's classroom until he retired in 2004 and passed it along to Libby Rosemeyer, the school's dean of students, and one of the students who was in the class for the original Twinkie lesson. You know, she became a teacher, and the Twinkie is still there 40 some odd years later. And I got to hold it up for you. There's the Twinkie down at the bottom of the picture of the Twinkie boxes. And it still looks like a Twinkie. I wouldn't eat it, you know. It probably tastes like cardboard. But it still looks like a Twinkie. And I've heard a few comments that were on this article, and it says, it just proves that Twinkies aren't really an organic product. They're not made of organic. They're made of something else, like styrofoam or whatever. And they went on to say that I have found used cars. I bought used cars with French fries that must have been there down years, and they're still in the same shape as McDonald's French fries, and they look exactly the same as they did when they were dropped down there, and that just proves that French fries aren't organic products either. They're made out of something else, you know. So they went on and on about that, you know. So now you know the story about the ancient Twinkie. It's like the ancient mariner, and Twinkies are good food. They're good for you, and all of this is just for fun. And you have yourself a fine day. And if you want to go out and buy some Twinkies, don't worry. They're not going to hurt you a bit, except they just might make your belly a little bit fatter. And once in a while, that's not a bad thing at all. But don't you dare eat one of them Chinese Twinkies, because I don't think those things are any good for you at all.